It's not
now. We are live now.
We are live,
Yeah,
right?
Perfect. Well,
it's just trying to connect to the channel itself and then coming back. You have to understand.
Perfect. So, hello, everyone watching this live or watching the recording. My name is AmaiaLesta, and I'm a team engineer. I help teams develop better ways of working together so they create high value for their organizations, and they are really willing and looking forward to going to work together every day because of what they can do together. And I'm here today in the first live of this channel. Woo! With my dear friend Ainhoa Borobia. We're actually two Basque women who have studied technology, engineering, IT, and that are based in UK. Milton Keynes for Ainhoa and Bristol for myself. And we are here today because Ainhoa focuses on helping entrepreneurs, developers, business owners automate the work they do. Well, actually, Ainhoa, you can introduce yourself. Tell us, 1 minute elevator pitch. What do you do?
Well, I work for entrepreneurs who are just overwhelmed by all the tasks that they have to do. And I help them in automating all the processes and making these processes to actually think about other things that are not only their businesses. So they actually can kind of then think about how to lead actually their teams, or even just think of the strategy that they have in their businesses. So in the end, it's give them less mental burden because they don't have to think about some things that are repetitive activities that you could do, and you don't need to think about them because they are repetitive, and then you can have more space for other things that are also in your business in the end.
Perfect, thank you. And you have developed the Fluye method, the flow method in Spanish, to help actually those entrepreneurs automate those tasks that are not very rewarding and free up space to actually develop their business, and that includes developing their team. And that's what we have in common, because I myself have worked in technology several years, 20 years, leading teams the majority of time, and in the past years leading DevOps teams, cloud engineering teams, SRE teams. And when you and I started discussing, and the idea of this live came about, was really about how some companies get into the mistake of automation for the sake of automation without doing due diligence. And they actually hope not only to save time, as we have mentioned, but also that it will solve some of the challenges they might have in the day-to-day. And I can speak for myself. I remember being in an organization where we have an engineering team and an operational team. And just to deploy a server in a data center, we needed to change 10 change requests. I could take 2 months. I mean, I go to the shop, I buy a laptop, I put it here, boom, I'm on the internet. But putting a server on a data center takes 2 months and 10 change requests. And what was happening? And we said, okay, let's automate part of the process. But the problem was not really the process. The problem was how teams were trusting or not each other, and how collaboration was effectively happening in the day-to-day. No, I need a change for this, and a change for that, and a change for that. One to rack it, one for the cable, one for the power, one for installing the operating system. And that's when the idea came to me, right? That if we do automation, it will amplify, and even it will bring out whatever culture already exists, good or bad, in an organization.
I couldn't agree more, because sometimes it's not just automating anything without thinking about, because thinking about the processes that are actually in place. Sometimes I think big companies just have so many processes going on, and it's not just the idea of just automating. It's not just that. You need to have some other things in place and think about the processes. Maybe they should be simplified first and then automated.
And that's exactly it. It's not about getting automation and automating what already exists, but actually using that automation initiative as a vehicle to understand who do we want to be and what are the processes that we will need to be that. Because if you automate what you have done now, that's what you will continue be doing and being. And I remember I had a colleague, he was also working in the cloud and network and data center network design and security and so on. And he was telling me, Amaia, if next year we do this activity in the same way that we are doing it now, we are not innovating. That's not good. So the initiative for automation, particularly in tech teams that I work with, and tech-driven organization, is really an opportunity to do this. Who do we want to be as an organization, as a team? And then how can automation help us to be that in a way that is efficient, effective, and what you were mentioning, right? That let us use our time in a way that we create more value, as opposed to doing things that where we don't get so much out of it. And I think I have been very lucky to work with teams that were in charge of bringing automation initiatives and automation tools into to modernize the processes we were using, from generating customer service reports to deploying servers in a data center to deploying services in cloud. And it's quite interesting that those have always the challenging part was never the technology, was always the people aspect of it. I can go more into that, but I'm curious about when you bring automation to the companies of these entrepreneurs, do you feel also that you start talking technology, but then the conversation is not only about technology?
Actually, I would say that it has to be more focused in other things, actually, because you have to, as you were well saying, the idea of just having some processes in place and talk about how people will interconnect to each other and will actually go ahead and put in place some sort of procedures or protocols or anything they have to actually make sure that the team actually works together. So there are some activities that they have to do previously to actually make sure that then the automation is the main thing to tackle. Before that, you have to do many preparation tasks or preparation exercises first. And I would say part of it, automation can help in any area, really, even in leadership, even team leadership. You can actually apply that to analyze more data and be able to make more better decisions based on the automation that gathers and as you mentioned, the reports about all the information that they need to make sure they know before they make a decision. But then it's the people of the team who decide what to do and where to go as a team based on that pulled together or the data and been using the technology for you. And then you have the human part, the human side, where you actually take that into account and integrate it with your team, actually. So I don't think it's a isolated system. It's just a integrated system that welcomes automation as the technology to actually push up the team in the end.
You are making me think that is ultimately, and a lot of the work that I do is systemic. So when you bring a tool, And I'm saying automation today. Maybe many people will say AI, but ultimately you use it
Yeah.
to automate stuff. So it's a new part of your team. And
Yeah.
it's quite interesting because there is a lot out there about this prompt engineering, and if the answer is bad, it's because how you do the prompt. And with AI, everybody's understanding that. If the answer is
It's true.
crap, it's you as the user. It's the level 8 in the OSI model that is not okay. It's very clear, unless you then go into hallucinations. But with people, we don't see that clearly, but it's actually that. Sometimes
Yeah.
when you're working with your team or your team working with other team, and you don't get the answer you want, many times we put it on them. Or they don't understand, they have no idea, they don't have knowledge. It's like, well, is it always? I'm not saying no, but so how can you work together so that it is clear and
Mm.
you both can move forward together? Because in a team, and for me, a team, we are part of many teams. You are part of your day-to-day team. You team up with your partners. For instance, in this case, doing DevOps is devs and ops, and sometimes some implementations are still devs and ops teams that are different. And then you bring SRE, and then the thing goes bigger. And ultimately, that tool is just showing you what is happening. And yet, we are very more permissive with the tools that we are
It's
with the
true.
people. And yet, what's happening is kind of the same. And that's
I definitely agree with you because the idea of not self-developing and rather just push back, as you said with the example with the server, then it's 2 minutes to bring a server and put it on and just switch it on and have it running, up and running. Sometimes they need to have all that idea that it wasn't my fault, it wasn't me, it was theirs, just because I didn't request whatever they were expecting. And that's people in the end. So technology is great, AI is great, but if you don't actually work on the people, work on developing all the team members themselves, I think it's a triangle. I would say it's not only leadership and technology, but I would add the mental health, if you want to say, or the self development that they need to go through in the end. So I would say this is for me all the self development that you could go with the team will also help, and nothing to do with technology in this case. So I had a boss who was saying, I manage very well having different tools to work with, but in the end, when I had to start managing people is when the problems started,
mm,
because people are thinking themselves how things should be, and it's difficult to actually get them all to actually push in the same direction. So I think that's the idea, and technology can help, but there is a side where people need to actually be willing to make that jump of faith in somehow, because they need to actually understand it. To be working as a team, I need to actually understand that maybe I'm not giving the right instructions to my team, and that's how you say, it's like, seems like putting yourself as a leader underneath your team and not up leading the way, you know.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's part of the perspective that you give to things in the end. Nothing to do with technology in this case, but technology can help in maybe having some sort of questions and analyze patterns within the team, for example.
And that's very interesting because you are making me think on this thing of what is happening, what does this signals that in this case that manager, because that manager was sensing what was a challenge for him. So he was in that environment, in that context of that team, say, oh, there is something here that is off, it's not working, and comes back to having that you have mentioned, no? Having that data and being able to see what is a trend, because we also have to understand that everybody and every team has a bad day. I remember a time that we have an incident installing a contact center server, and we end up having to reinstall from scratch. I think we worked until 5 in the morning. It was not the best day for us as a team there. We did manage to work as a team, and that's what helped us to be able to restore the service. People supporting each other and so on, opening the ticket, chatting to the vendor, getting permissions from the customer, things like that, no, in parallel. And in the same way that everyone has a bad day and there are bad days, it's about understanding, is this a trend? Which things happen that we have to keep, but also what things are starting to happen that are signals that we have to act. Because maybe the team has been doing okay until now, and then suddenly something starts, I don't know, for instance, you might be been in a team and you are noticing that people start contributing less in meetings. Maybe the typical person that used to be very excited and coming with ideas has stopped. Maybe people are not challenging decisions, are not challenging initiatives. Actually, maybe decisions are not happening or are taking longer, or maybe there is a lot of conflict, a lot of friction, tensions that they didn't used to be there. And these for me are the signals of, we need to do something now because things are changing somehow. And if we let things go, if we do nothing, we'll just see these signals, but we don't act, it's not going to get solved by a miracle, right? And I like what you have mentioned. Actually, something I'm thinking about, because now I work with, basically I work with teams over a period of several months when we do strategic sessions to bring clarity on certain things. That's a different topic to discuss, but the main things in technology teams in particular that affect engagement, performance, well-being are related to having clarity on purpose, on direction, on processes, and also having good collaboration internally and externally. There's a lot of research of the last couple of years that says that time and again. Collaborate and clarity. And that's when it comes to the whole idea of, well, if we have a system that is giving that's data, that this signal is worth paying attention to, and this signal is an outlier, okay, it's not repeating, has happened, so let's not forget it, but that can be very powerful because the leader and every team member can see only what they can see. But as a collective, where are we? How are we? And what I'm trying to do now with the programs I run is do some of these as a survey, gather data punctually and go deep in a conversation maybe, but also want to bring technology to be my and the team's support to help them see this trend in the day-to-day.
Well, in that day, if you do some service, as you said, and I think it's not, sometimes there are invisible signs that tells you that the team is not going well. Some people, I don't know if in the UK, well, for me, because I used to work with some other people that were Spanish, I don't know if it's a culture thing, but they tend to actually, as you said, just have good conversations in the corridor or in the cafeteria rather than telling your leader or your boss what's happening. And then the boss or the leader cannot detect what's happening in the team and what is causing all this discomfort in the team that makes people not to actually, as you said, not coming with someone that was coming up with many ideas, then stopped doing it, or things like that, behaviors that are changing in your team. And I think one of the things that they can do using technology is just finding patterns with the service that you said that we can do. But apart from that, I think the one-to-one conversations that are recorded and get the keys, the key points that we got from one single member isolated, maybe then you can, it's like the police when they interview people separately and then they kind of make assumptions about every single answer from different people they are interviewing. So in this case would be the same, I would say. And then finding those patterns, then you can then use technology to help you out. But in principle, you have to actually connect with your people, I would say. I don't know if you were always saying that even though you were just doing your thing, then you were actually going and saying, I'll help this team working as it should be. And then you were kind of given the tag of the leader within the team, even though you weren't the boss in that time of the team. And it's just trying to work better. We will have to stay here and spend so many hours together. Let's do it as it should be. And at least we have spent a time building something together that we are proud of. And in the end, creating a direction or a team sensation, really. You don't feel like that you are isolated. And I think you can use the technology to help you, but in the end, surveys, I think, are a good thing, or conversations that you have one-to-ones with. I don't know if you've done other things to help a team flow, or just getting together and using agile strategies like the stand-ups or things where people actually say, I don't agree with this, or this is going wrong, or where we can fix things.
That's a great question, because actually, having worked with agile, using agile methodologies for I don't know, 7 years, 8 years, something like that. It was after a couple of years I realized that it was really good. The ceremonies in agile were really good and made optimized for product development and service development. And some of the blockers yet came from what I was saying. There is no clarity on certain things, so we are stuck in how we prioritize this or that. That's because there is not clarity on what's really important for the organization at that point of time. And there is also this aspect of many of the challenges that were coming in retrospectives, for instance, were related to collaboration. Across this in the teams, how we do code reviews, how we do approvals, how we do merges. And merge is just a virtual way of collaboration. Well,
that's true.
like that. So, and code reviews and the whole concept of psychological safety in code review. You are writing, and maybe if you are in different time zones, let alone the sentiment, the feeling that the people put in the words you have written, and what they get emotionally. Only can they do it. So, what do you write? How do you write it? And it is when you work with them outside that maybe that relationship goes to a next level. In terms of no, we get along, so I know that when this person writes this is because they are busy. I have someone in my team. We started a very small team when we started doing infrastructure as code, and we have a couple of people with more experience, so they have to review everyone's code at the beginning. So they didn't have the time to be careful. They were like pa pa pa. But the rest of the team understood that, had that clarity of this is how we work here now because of this situation. We want to move something else. We will have these standards in the future and so on. So when you're asking me, and your question was about the activities that I do with the team, one-to-one conversations are always important. And yet, ultimately, to be a team, the team conversation is vital. And actually, why? I mean, you are in your team. You have 5 people that are knowledgeable, experts in their area to a certain degree, have different life experiences, and the whole idea is to bring them together so that all of that combined creates something better that each of them is working individually. It's really about how can this group of people coming together create great value. And that's when a team flows, when they are able to have those conversations and say, look, this is the purpose, this is what we have to achieve, this is how we are, our goals, this is how we are going to evaluate how well are we doing or if we need to adjust something, this is how we are going to work together. These are the key people we have to work with outside the team, our key stakeholders, and this is how we approach working with them. And when
That's
you have
true.
clarity and in that and those ways of working, that the team has to agree, because it's also about what works for this team right now. And those ways of working will change. If you have a new team now, they will need a certain way of working and a certain set of goals and a certain set of things to be checked, evaluated from time to time. In 2 years' time, things will be different. And that's when the team has to be part of that. Let's make a decision on how we work, how we check how we are doing, how we learn from what we are doing, and how we evolve it. And that's when a team flows. When a manager is coming, hey, I have read this book and we're going to use this framework.
It doesn't work.
What's your experience? Does it work?
Yeah. You sometimes when you have a team that the boss just arrives and says things like that, you actually don't want to say nothing, to say anything about it. It's like, okay, let's do it that way. I don't think we are gonna be successful, but let's do it as you say, because it's not gonna be my fault in the end. You decided we go this way. And the hard thing for me, I think, in teams is just to agree on something. Some people, as you said, have a background apart from their knowledge, also their life experiences. So they would act in a way that it's according to that. So it's I think it's a key point to actually agree on how we are going to be working and how are we going to solve conflicts or problems that come along the way. So as you say, I agree with you as well in terms of not just having one-to-one conversations, but also, as you said, like flowing is also conversation flowing. So you feel in a secure place where you can speak and say that you don't agree with something, or you actually are thinking about doing things any other way, and you have to you need to feel that you are being listened. Sometimes I know in projects sometimes just time rushes and you need to finish right now and you have to make quick decisions, but in the end we have to make space for these conversations, even though we have tight deadlines. Or I know in projects, especially in technology, is my area of expertise as well, and in the end you never have time for anything. You have to just do. You are in the doing and you never think about these things, and that's when a tiny mistake or a tiny doubt can become the big thing that maybe makes the project not to actually end up as it should be.
And actually, you are making me think about this whole idea of, because I'm with you 20 years in tech, it looks like everything has to happen. It has to be for tomorrow. There's never enough people, never enough money.
For yesterday. It has to be for yesterday.
The whole concept of we are time poor. We don't have the time for this, which is actually also an opportunity then to is when you have to really be kind of draconian and making the decision. Okay, so what do we really have the time for? Well, it's not what do we really have the time for. Then what's really what we need to focus on, because that's what the outside world will value for us to focus on. And then is when it says, okay, the teams are in this situation. They have arrived there. Look, they have been deploying services, new features, super successful. And now something needs to change, because you started being a team, bringing new technology or bringing a new product and service and so on. And now you have moved into, oh, we have live customers. and they need more features, and we start having incidents with live customers. So what we did before might not be what needs to happen now. So how we help teams getting unstuck when those signals we mentioned at the beginning start happening. And you were reminding me of Agile and discussing Agile, and there are things that can be done that are very simple, because you were also discussing about small time scarcity. And it's like companies like Spotify, for instance, do a team health check. So it's like a retrospective. And this is when I think it's important, because it's about not overwhelming the team with more stuff, but helping to do this and block them with what is already happening in the day-to-day. So you can have a team retrospective that is focusing on the health of the team.
Some tasks actually can be just dedicated to actually develop the team and open conversations within the team. I think it's not only the doing work, but also these conversations need to be included in the to-do list of the teams, I think.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's okay. This has changed. So let's double check. Are we clear now in our purpose? What it is? And it's a conversation you can have in 15, 30 minutes. If facilitated well, it can be done that fast. You can also have a practice that I really like is the whole idea of meetings, right? And there's a lot of, well, this is controversial. Meetings need an agenda, and if there is no agenda, reject the meeting. I've been in companies where that was the because we have this meetinitis syndrome or plague, no? In at least some companies have it. So if there is no agenda, if it's not clear what's your value that you bring, don't go. Well, and maybe you have an agenda, and that's just going through a list of things that to do, but at the end nothing has changed. Maybe that meeting has not created any value. And that's why I like the whole idea of starting meetings with what is the outcomes that have to be produced in the meeting, that everyone is clear about those outcomes.
And also have a leader in the meetings, because if you are only, everything is talking and talking and talking, sometimes you don't get to a point where actually get, I don't know, progress in the idea of the meeting in the end.
Well, and that's when, someone that knows actually how to facilitate. I mean, now part of the work I do is facilitation of workshops, the wait days, and so on. So the amount of different activities that you can use so that you get more or better in less time. I wish I knew it 20 years ago when I started in tech, because some of the meetings that we had could have been much more energizing, short. So it's not about more meetings, it's about better facilitated meetings. And the whole thing of we start with an outcome, then mid-meeting, that facilitator, whose role is that, is how close are we to arrive to that outcome? What has to change? What have to do in the rest of the meeting so that we arrive to that outcome? And being very strategic and look, this is our focus. Are we close to it? No, we cut it. And that's when you have to have those skills, the abilities, and actually the context where that is accepted and okay and welcome. And this is when it goes into the whole idea of psychological safety. But micro interventions like checking, start with the outcome, check is at the end, and of course check out. The whole idea of doing team retrospectives as part of your agile way of being and doing can also help the teams get unstuck. Anything else you have seen, particularly when you are implementing maybe new technology and people are now my life is changing and they get like blocked? What has worked for you? What do you think works?
I think especially it happens when actually the team has just been started, because sometimes when you have a team that has been working together for years, they know these things, and a change in the team sometimes is harder, sometimes it's not that hard, but they are they know they have a base where to do the thing, and then they have a new thing that is just a tiny thing that they have to I don't know, incorporate into their teams. And also when you are starting, people are more open, as if you were starting a new course, for example, where you meet new people, and then you are more open to have conversation. I think that's when you can easily introduce technology in all this, and because you are setting up the base for how we work, and then this the technology we'll be using, and anything like that. So in the end, you have to be careful, I would say, when introducing a new bit into a team, depending on the experience that team has in working together. Sometimes you know how people are doing some things, and then you know how they work, so you know how to work with them. Sometimes time sometimes helps in people knowing what's the best way to work with you, is I know how I work and how you work, and that facilitates conversations. And then technology can also use to actually fast forward that those activities that need to actually be completed in a team.
So how do you think that technology can support into that team development?
Well, the team development has so many, as you mentioned, there are so many techniques, frameworks we can work on. And all those frameworks are like I would say, mini protocols or things that we can follow and automate. Because the idea to have these structures, these frameworks, are to actually do the same every time. So in every time you find something that you do the same every time, that's something that it's possible to automate at some point. So it depends on how willing the people are to actually automate some things. Certain things are, even though they are repetitive, people prefer to actually do them manually. But in a team, as developing the team, I think you can even doing it very I forgot the word, very funny, and you can actually enjoy creating all this structure and how we automate these things based on technology. So I was just trying to have some sort of games within the team to actually get your opinions out and get together to actually build what was going to be automated within the team and how we work, how we deal with other teams, for example. That's something that we have to agree on, how we are going to communicate with other teams. We know which tasks are not ours and which tasks are ours, so we know that we have to actually filter which communication have between both teams. So that's part of the things that you can automate with technology within a team, I think. I don't know if you've experienced other things that can be automated within a team to get it developed as a team, because I think time is the thing that actually gets teams in the end, even if they don't want to, they get developed somehow. Even though it's not going to be the team that actually talks to each other, all the members, but there are some things that I think, apart from time, that makes actually teams develop, and other things that you have seen in your experience.
I mean, for me, it's I have several ideas here, and you have said time helps team develop, and I think we have to be purposeful and really curate, and that time, because it is very scarce, as we have said, that companies will, and particularly certain leadership styles, will dedicate to teaming, so developing a team, or working better together as a team, working better together with other teams. Because for me, team development is that we work better together, and we also work better with the outside. It's not about we are so good together, we love each other, and everybody else is the enemy.
Yeah.
That's not in that's very narcissistic, egotistic, dangerous approach. And considering how things work, particularly in technology, if your team, you and your team, you as a leader and your team are not really liked outside there, you are not gonna have a very long lifetime because teams need other teams to succeed. Your team needs other teams to succeed. And you need other teams to succeed so that they say, hey, we were really good at this because this other team helped us. I mean, and actually it's also about, well, I can go places, no? But yeah, I can go places because that's what I do what I do now, no? I have engineering teams, I have teams. We really looking forward to go to work together and to create value. And value is for others, not for you. But the question about other ways, I was thinking several things because, as you have mentioned, at the beginning of something, not having automation is flow for innovation. And that's when creativity happens and ideas happen and so on. And then when we analyze, okay, where do we have this toil that is the term used in site reliability engineering? What is this waste? What are these activities that we do often enough that we think we should stop doing, but they still need to be done? And it's worth investing into automating. So they are always repeatable the same way. And having that conversation is actually a conversation that helps develop a team. Because some people might say, well, you might realize that someone is stuck in their comfort zone and just doing that thing. But you need them, the team needs them to step into something else. What is that something else? How we as a team connect with that purpose that drives us being willing to step to that. Having clarity on whose role, particularly when you bring automation and, suddenly we need, I remember having this conversation when we were starting having more people in the team. We moved from 1 or 2 to being 15, 16 cloud engineers doing infra code. So it's like, okay, how do we implement code review so that the same, it's not only 2 people approving everyone's, but how do approvals look like and things like that, so that the people that are more junior learn and so on. And this goes into defining a new operating model for the team. So when you bring automation, you are defining the new operating model. How do we behave? How do we act? Who does what? And part of that was going to be the automation. Then it comes to, well, we have to develop as a team because now we have to take care of the automation. So how do we embed that new responsibility? And we also have to work with the stakeholders so then to understand that what we do now is different. They used to have a ticketing remedy for a change request, and now they will have to approve a merge on GitHub.
In any way, if you don't have, actually, if you use technology within a team, you can actually sell innovation to other teams, which is very attractive for them to actually work with you without the burden of manual work in the end. If they know that you are actually communicating in a easy, smoothie way, then they will be, I think, more willing to work with you, even though sometimes you have to, relations need to be done, need to be developed. But apart from that, it came to my mind from what you were saying, that the innovation in the end is attractive to actually create new things. And as you said, the creativity comes, and then actually technology can help you building things to actually interconnect all that. Within, as you said, the team needs other teams to actually have success.
Well, it's funny that you say that because now I'm realizing, we have been here 40 minutes, 44 minutes, and all of this is common sense, logical. My experience is that you have said, other teams should be very interested in innovation. Well, we are humans, and some people are thrilled, some people are scared.
True.
Some people have doubts. They felt threatened, then you felt threatened. Maybe, and this is when it comes when you're in a big organization, they have some goals that now, because of you changing, they might not be able to meet. And why do they have to then develop themselves to adapt for this? And that's when the tensions come. And that's when what in logical terms should be good ends up being, and I've seen it happening, a year or two of not really benefiting from that automation. I mean, I remember in one of our projects, one of our engineers developed some code that you could upgrade a router. Yes, and I actually, because of circumstances, say, look, the technology is very complex, but when it is very easy, so it should be no more than 3 clicks to do that. And he actually did it, saving thousands of pounds. The technology was there, but the people that had to use it were not confident enough to use it. And their leadership team had other interests at that point in time or other focus. So there was no investment on getting it used. It took 3 years for them to start using something that was there. And they continued doing it until then, that work. So it's not that they didn't do the work. No, the work was done in a way that was less optimal than it could. But they had to go through that process of, now I'm confident as a team that this is the approach. Now I'm confident as a team that we can do this and we can use these tools, use this way of working in a way that if something breaks, I can solve it.
Yeah.
And if something needs changing, I can adapt it. And that's a massive piece of work that for some people takes more time. And that's when, if we would have had conversations in a different way with those teams, so that goals were complementary, we both would have worked in a different way. I mean, we saved that first time we used it thousands of pounds, but it didn't get used until 3 years. So maybe we should have not put the effort back then if this team was not ready.
Sometimes you have to, as a team, well, maybe you have to agree things between different teams.
100%.
People who were going to use this software that was being made and people developing. You can have the amazing software of the century and then no one uses it. And that's not the idea. That it makes you realize that if you don't know, well, within a company, what's the feeling of people using that software and what they really need, it's not what you want to build, then that's part of the team as a upgrade or upper scale. In the end, it's not just team of teams that would be
exactly
that they have to work as a team, right? So
yeah,
each
100%.
member would be a team itself, and then they have to actually agree on things to actually get a goal and going through the finish line with a project that needs to have several teams to work as a team members in the end. It's a bigger scale of all the idea of just having a team with individuals.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It is like, and when you use, in this case, we are discussing about how automation supports and almost kind of enables having the conversation of how we evolve as a team. It's a domino effect that will touch the other teams. And I sometimes I use the analogy, right? If you are in a team, if a team member is training this arm to play tennis, but the other team member is playing this arm to play golf, and one leg to play football, and the other leg because you are a ping pong player, this body, which represents your team, is not going to win any medal, and it's probably going to get injured. And it's the same when you have teams. Now, if every part of my body was a team, that organization is not going to succeed if there is not that joint work. And my team, which is my right arm, has to train as an arm. I don't use this development of this team, that is my arm. I don't train it the same way that my leg. Each of them have to go through their own development, their own exercising, their own program of what they need and where they are. But all of them have to be aiming to win the same match or to win the same, to perform the same hike, whatever the sport that you are trying to win in and be better at, it has to be all aligned, right? So, well, I know we have been here like 49 minutes. I can talk forever. I have so many notes that we have not covered that we will need to go into one in the future. What are your takeaways of the conversation today?
You makes me think about a lot of things because even though I have my own company and I tend to actually use the technology to help me, you make me think about that other thing that's having conversations or through conversations with all the members I work with to actually get to not only a good performance, but people within the team that I work with, all the different collaborators I work with, actually create a relationship and actually develop it and take the time to not only send a message through one of the tools that we use that are perfectly automated and all the reminders will get what they have to get, but also get that human side of things. You make me think about the human side of all this technology world in which we are humans in the end, and teams are also humans and not only technology connected that we use and we connect every day to actually connect to other teams or members.
Yeah, and you're making me think, particularly the human aspect of fear of change. And with technology, there is so much. So yeah, having that connection there so that people feel
Low barriers.
yeah. Actually, it's, if I think even about the first projects I ever did with tech, I know, maybe 15 years ago, installing a contact center, and we were asked if we could automate because every case was associated to a specific agent. So the customer always have the good experience of someone that knows them and so on, which from a customer perspective is fantastic. What was happening if that agent goes for lunch or a coffee or to the toilet, the customer might call, I might not have the attention. So we were asked to create a specific kind of logic for the calls 15 years ago, I'm saying. And
just yesterday. In tech, that's yesterday.
But mobiles didn't have a camera, I think, 15 years ago, let alone, but never mind. And people were very scared that because now the system knew when they were or not available, they were being monitored. So that bringing that automation of if you're not there, we pass the call to someone else so that the customer still has great experience and it has an answer. There was this. You are the ones who have said that this is a problem. Now we bring a solution, but you are scared of the solution, and it's about having those conversations you are saying, and having those conversations.
Yeah. And also, as you say, technology helps uniting teams as well. Just because we are in different places in this world, you are in the UK, I'm in Spain right now, and we can actually get these conversations together and get things work and communicate. So this can happen also in team members within a company or within different teams as well.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And actually, I think there are some of these solutions that help. There are more and more, I think, human resources systems that allow people to see, for instance, people with the same skills or people with the same learning interests, so that you can that level of, it's not automation, but it's kind of data, using data, leverage data to create communities and to create support groups in learning, to create support groups in terms of mentoring skills and things like that. It's also really valuable. I really don't conceive the work I do right now is in team sessions, and the change happens when they have specific conversations that are well facilitated. And I conceive that for that type of work to really have an impact over the long time, you need the habit creation, and technology can be super good for that. As you have mentioned, to understand where we are, to understand what's happening, and also to help nudge people into those, making it easier for them to stay aligned with what they say they want to do and want to be, and not going back to the previous version of themselves, because it's scary to change, no? As we were saying. Well, Ainhoa, thank you very much. Really a pleasure to having you here in this live session today. For anyone that is interested in being part of a community for automating tasks in their business or entrepreneurs, please feel free to comment in the chat, and I know I will get in touch with you. And for people who are interested in developing their teams and helping move their teams into the next stage, because they are detecting some of those signals we mentioned at the beginning that might be an indication that the team has to evolve, or what I call relaunch. Please also comment in the chat or reach out into my email. Actually, Sarah, I put your email also here. I know.
Sure.
Or yeah, I will put it in the comments on the video so that everybody can see both emails, and we move from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having this space.
Absolutely fine. And thank you for everyone for watching and letting us know if you like it, what you like, what came up for you when you were watching and listening to us. Thank you, everyone, and have a lovely rest of the week.